All right, welcome to the Healthy Enterprise podcast. Thank you for joining me today. If you've been here before, well, I'm glad you're back. And if it's your first time, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm going to be speaking with Annie Stephanos. She's a certified life and mental health coach. After experiencing burnout and PTSD herself, Annie discovered her high road, a path to balance, wellness, and self-discovery. She's guided by her values of hope, trust, and compassion, and she now helps others find their own high road, reach their wellness goals, and reclaim their well-being. So let's dive in and meet Annie. Annie, thank you for joining me today on this episode. I'm looking forward to getting to know more about you and about your business. And so why don't you start there? Like give our listeners a little bit of introduction as to who you are and your company.
Well, Heath, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here on your podcast today. So my name is Annie Stephanos, and I'm a certified mental health and wellness coach. And I'm the founder of Highroads Coaching here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. And I work mostly with high achieving women who are feeling stuck in burnout, helping them slow down, reconnect with who they are, and rebuild a life that, actually feels good again. And so before this, just briefly, I spent years as a teacher and an instructional coach, which, is for lay people, the teacher coach, educational coach. And that
All right.
experience really shaped how I work with people. And I've always been about the whole person, not really about, not always, only about the goals they're chasing, but really how they're feeling along the way. And so, my approach is really about, built on three things. And those are my core values of hope, trust, and compassion. I believe in people, meeting people where they are. I'm helping it. I really, enjoy helping them see what's possible and then giving them those tools to move forward without the pressure to be perfect. And so, really, at the heart of it, High Roads Coaching is about helping women find their high road and that space where they can finally breathe, be themselves, and thrive again, like I did.
So what brought you to this? What brought you to this business? What happened that you were like, this is what I want to do? Because I mean, this is relatively new for you still, right? This is your first business doing this. So, tell us about what brought you to this point in your life.
Well, so I had been an elementary educator here in California for 26 years. For the final 3 years of my career, I was an instructional coach. And in late 2023, early 2024, I experienced um, severe burnout. And a lot of the factors were involved, some things that were in my control, some that were not in my control. But experiencing, severe burnout, I kind of like to say that I, was kind of down to the studs emotionally. And after some time in rehab and having lots of support, I, built myself back up and found a new high road. And
Hmm.
I, thought about going back to education, but realized that, I never lost my love for coaching. So I decided that, you know, since I had, been in education and it kind of, the reason I burned out is because I was, working in a job that was, high stress and really probably caused my burnout. I decided to move on, and I think was the best decision I ever made. But but once again, what I took with me was wonderful coach training, and I always wanted to be a coach. So what I did was I decided to look into how I could help other people recover from burnout and, help them find that peace and, help them through their journey. But I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do that. So one day I got an email from Kaiser, my insurance, saying, you have Headspace for free, and have you signed up with a coach? And I was like, wait a second, Headspace has coaches? I knew of Headspace, I knew the app, and I knew it was a great, for meditation and support. But I thought, wait. So right then and there, I went onto the Headspace website and found the Headspace Training Institute, and I looked up their program, and it was everything I was looking for. And so I applied and I was accepted. And in January of this year, I started with the program. And in June, I became a certified mental health coach. But what was amazing
Wow.
is that I just felt like there was another place for me to go. And that was just, it was such a wonderful opportunity, because going through the process and the journey through burnout, um, it changed me. And once again, the reason Highroads Coaching is called Highroads Coaching is because I found a high road. I found a higher road. It doesn't make me better than other people, but basically, I found a new way of living, one where I put myself first, where put my, I knew my self worth. I'm living more at peace and I'm free. And I also just, knew that my journey was something different than any journey I had taken before. So Headspace helped me get there, and I met some amazing people along the way. And then in February of this year, I started High Roads Coaching. And that's how it all began. I just, as I said, sometimes when one door closes, another one opens. It was a rough road to get there, but
Right.
sometimes I think things are done. I heard this once and it was an amazing statement, but sometimes things aren't done to you, sometimes they're done for you. And so I look at it that way, and I haven't looked back.
That's an
So,
amazing story. And I love the way you described where you were at, where it's like down to the studs. I mean, that
mm,
that is a very, very clear visual, and
mm,
those of us who have experienced that know exactly what you're talking about and can understand at that point where a person is that you really need a hand up, right? And we
oh,
you know
for
we talk
sure.
about mental health a lot in a lot of conversations all over the world, and it's like
Mm.
those are the moments when you need a hand up. It's really also inspiring that your insurance company had a hand in that. Like
Yes.
that's where you're seeing a system that gets a lot of bad feedback, a lot of negative
Yes.
press, but here's an example where they actually worked on your behalf and in your favor and actually helped you get
Yes.
from where you are. So I like that we can have those kinds of stories and talk about how these kinds of programs can work for us and work with us and help us, right?
Exactly. And I was blessed to have, very good insurance as an educator. And I was always grateful for that. And I was grateful to have an amazing team of people in my 4.5 months in outpatient rehabilitation. I didn't do it alone, and nobody should have to do it alone. And I
No.
also had, PTSD. I had a trauma therapist as well as my own therapist. And just, it was really, it was a team of people, but also, I did the work. But yes, I was supported by a very good system of doctors and insurance that did allow me to get the help and the care I needed. I want to say that, you know, the system does support us, when we do need that.
Hmm.
I was very grateful to have that when I
and now
needed it.
you're and now you're in a position to sort of help others who are in find themselves in a similar place, or maybe not even having gotten to that point, but somewhere along that trajectory where there's some sort of a need for a change of
Yes.
life or a change of
Yes.
whether it's personal or professional, and that's where you like to meet people where they're at there. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, much like when I was a teacher, I mean, I always just met my students where they were, not necessarily trying to, one size does not fit all. And it's the same when you're a coach and you're working with your client, right? Every client has a different need, and for women, this idea of burnout, it comes under a very large umbrella. That's
Hmm.
why when I chose burnout as my niche, which is so important as a coach, you want to have a niche.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, I can meet with any client about anything. I'm not necessarily limited to burnout, but having gone through that, burnout is something that I can, you know, choose as my niche and go with that, as I spread the word or put information out. But it comes under a big umbrella. um, Burnout encompasses, there's so many layers to that burnout onion. So much of that is, and it comes in different places. It could be workplace, it could be at home, it could be just, maybe growing up feeling like you had to be perfect all the time. Just there's so many reasons for women to burn out, especially women who and we live in a society where I think even now women feel like they have to be able to do it all and have
Hmm.
to do it so well. And that
Hmm.
that's just not realistic. And so we really have to think hard about how much that affects women's mental health, the
Yeah, absolutely.
expectations. So definitely needs to be talked about more. And I have come across people who have said I'm burned out, or I feel like I'm going towards burnout, or I'm feeling like I'm experiencing something like this at work, where I'm having workplace abuse, or I'm feeling burned out and I need to leave this situation, but I can't talk about it with anyone. And that's really, to me, a a big concern. And that's why, like I said, being able to talk about with this with you today is so important and such an honor, because I think we need to be heard. Women need to be heard. There are people who can talk to you about it, and you're not alone, because it can feel very isolating to
Yeah, I'm sure it can be. Yeah. And there are so
mhm.
many, so many variables and situations that, it's just understand, like you said, even identifying that you might be on track for something, right? Just
Yes.
having knowing that something's not quite right, and having that, just that, a sounding board to talk to somebody. So,
Well,
which
and
is
I
really
see
great.
burnout on there's different levels of burnout, if it's okay for me to share
Yeah.
that, based on based on my own experience, but also just what I and in the research that I've done, and just even just talking to clients and other women, I see that there are levels of burnout. There's that I'm aware of burnout and I'm going to try and not go to that next level. Then there's that level of I do a lot, but I am, making sure that I'm not overdoing it. Then there's that level that you just discussed. Like I see it in it's definitely coming closer to me. I really should cut back. I really should, not overbook myself, whatnot. And then there's the full blown burnout, where you don't realize you're heading towards that, and then it hits you, you know, and then once that hits, it's really hard. Then, you can't go back unless you definitely are, staying
Yeah.
within the lower three.
Well, it's a building process. Like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
something that happens, over a week, or a
No,
2 month period. This is like,
no.
you're stacking things on top of
Mm-hmm.
things, and it,
Yes,
it is a combination of,
yes,
lifestyle and choices and all
yes.
those things. But,
Mm-hmm.
when you have a lot in your life, and you have, kids and parents and job and
Mm-hmm.
volunteer work, and,
Oh,
what,
yeah.
dogs. I mean,
Yeah,
just throw a dog into any
definitely.
mix. Now
I
you
have
got to
all
go
that.
walk a dog twice a day. It's like, well,
I
I
have
didn't have
two.
time for
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I didn't have
and that's
I didn't
yeah,
have time to eat. Now I got to walk a dog twice a day,
right.
right?
And then
I thought that
um
was a good idea, but it was
well,
not.
right, exactly. I have two, and yeah, it's a lot of work. But and then you make a very good point that it's often exacerbated by lots of other things.
Hmm.
Workplace environment. Maybe you have children. You have a child with special needs. Maybe you have children with um, developmental or needs, or are neurodiverse. I have a
A
daughter
parent
with
gets sick,
ADHD. Yeah, a parent gets it. Maybe you're a
right?
caregiver to an older parent.
Yeah, and you're
It
or just a blind side that comes out of left field that you
oh,
don't even know,
definitely.
you're not even prepared
Right,
for, which most of us are
right.
not prepared for those, and that's
Oh,
another problem, is we're not ready to take
yeah.
on. We don't on purposely take on any more things because we're maxed out, but
Right.
when you're forced to take on something like an emergency of some sort to a family
Yes.
member or whatever,
Yes.
there's the tipping point, there's the breaking point. It's
Well,
like,
and if you're a giver anyway, which I
yeah,
was
right.
and
Mm.
tend to be, and of course, being a teacher, teachers tend to be givers,
Yeah,
but if you're a
yeah.
giver, you tend to be just like, I can do this, and you're juggling all these
Someone's
different
gotta
things,
do
and
it, so I
you
will.
it's not going to get done if I don't do it, kind of that whole idea, or I can just get it done faster. But no, you're right. It can be exacerbated by many things. And that, for me, it was just the perfect storm of
Yeah.
many different things all at once. And so been there, done that. Right. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, you make very good points that yes, these are all different things and we often as I said, we often don't feel we can talk about these things as it's happening. So when it
Hmm.
finally happens and we have to then take that huge step back to, then take a look and rebuild from the studs up,
Hmm.
then that's when we realize, whoa, okay, that wasn't a healthy
And so,
life.
what you're providing is not only, not only is something that, in at a state of no return where people are like, I don't know what to do next. I got
Hmm.
to talk to somebody that, which is almost kind of a reactive state. You're kind of at that point already. People could actually take, this almost as a bit of a preventative thing. Like, where am I
Exactly.
at? Do I even know where I'm on the spectrum of burnout? Right. And be more preventative in there in that approach, and be able to use coaching like this as a way to help avoid getting to the end of the line with burnout.
100%. And that is where I think, having gone all the way to the top,
To the
right?
finish line.
To the
The
burnout
burnout.
finish line, right? Like I definitely, like I said, down to the studs, right? If anyone can sort of it knows what it's like to, really hit the finish line, right? And then have to rebuild from the studs. Yes, exactly. It's like, why wait for it to happen,
Right.
to get help? And one of the things that in my practice, Highroads Coaching, we offer, that really, we offer that, for women to step out of, sort of that feeling of like, I know it's coming on, but more stepping into balance, and then just, really getting back into balance. And then with one-on-one coaching and then workshops and some digital resources, we've been able to pass out some information to women about understanding the root causes of why they're stressed and exhausted, and then how do we how do we rebuild our self-worth and confidence, right? How do we set healthy boundaries without feeling guilty? That's a big one. Especially for givers, right? We are not
Right.
used to setting those boundaries and not feeling guilty, like, oh, I feel so bad, I told them no, but I really should have said yes, because now they're disappointed. That is not setting a healthy boundary.
No, we
um,
know.
and then just reconnecting with your joy, with joyful things, um, with your purpose, and then also embracing rest, which, doers and, givers, rest is not on the list, and that is a definite, you know um,
Rest is not
road to burnout.
productive.
No. And we I read
Or
something very
the
interesting.
association of resting is not very productive. It's, oh,
No,
I'm
because
wasting time.
right, I could be getting so much done, and that's the
Yeah.
doer and the go, go, go,
Yeah.
and the it's a total recipe for burnout. And as I said, I've got a PhD in burnout here. I can attest to the times when I was like, no, I cannot take a moment for myself. But I read something very interesting. I think it was on Instagram just recently, and this will definitely age me, but it said something about Gen X, watch their mothers and grandmothers, work without resting.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
they never, they just kept going and going, right? And and now we think that that's a normal thing.
Yeah, the all glorified work ethic.
Right. And the thing is, our mothers and our grandmothers, they didn't work full time. And maybe they didn't have two dogs and, neurodiverse children and all these other things, and a full time
Right?
job and all the other things that we've taken on top of everything that maybe they had also. So it's no wonder that, we're feeling exhausted, tired, and, there's these thoughts of like, I am really, this is not going to go well if I don't stop and pay attention and really listen to myself. And that was one thing that I think one of the big things that came from my recovery was that I didn't listen to my gut all those
Mm.
years when I was just
Mm.
not listening to myself, and, hey,
Mm.
slow down, this can't be healthy,
Mm.
how come you're doing everything? So that was a
Mhm.
big takeaway. And then the other thing that we do with clients that, really helps them to prevent burnout from happening, but also recover from burnout, is just creating these sustainable routines, so that really support their mental health and well-being. So, just, deciding what's a non-negotiable in your life. Like, what are you willing to tolerate and what are you not willing to tolerate? And deciding like, okay, I'm not willing to tolerate certain relationships in my life that are draining my energy. What do I want to save my energy for? And what are some things that are not that important to me anymore? What are some things that I really want to put my energy towards, and then, and feel that joy? And really, it's mostly about what brings you, what do you want to spend your energy on? I call it the emotional piggy bank, where, you're putting investing in yourself, your energy, you're investing in this piggy bank of, you know, I don't know. I just call it that. And what I tell my clients is, you know, every time you do something good for yourself, you're investing in your emotional piggy bank, and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
pay off in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
when you
I like
allow
that.
people to drain your piggy bank, if you're taking out of your piggy bank
You
for
got nothing.
others, then
You
you're
got no
not, yeah.
savings for the future.
I smashed my piggy bank and maybe other piggy banks. I don't know where I got all that extra, but it certainly is so important. So once again, a lot of it is
You just
about,
keep robbing the emotional bank.
yes, and you're going into debt, and yeah. So that was definitely all of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't have I didn't have that investment ready for when I needed it. So,
Right.
um,
Again, that comes back to prevention, which is, knowing how to save for your emotional future.
exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
we are worth it. And that's
Yeah.
comes back to knowing our worth and knowing how important we are to ourselves, and knowing our worth, and not being apologetic about it.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
having to say
That's
I'm
right.
sorry to put myself first. It's okay to rest, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to take a break. It's okay to say no. So,
So
yeah.
is there, Annie, tell me this, is there a clear distinction between coaching and
Mhm.
therapy? Because do people sometimes get them mixed up, or is there a line? Is there a clear line for you?
Great question. And I was really hoping you would ask that, because I think there is a lot of confusion sometimes about what is coaching like therapy is, gee, anybody can be a coach, but there is a difference. And so, yes, I'm happy to explain. So therapy is about looking in the past, right? When we go to therapy, we're often exploring our feelings from a prior event or experience that we have a hard time letting go of, or that's affecting our life in general, right? And so we work with a therapist to you know resolve those issues, maybe work on how we can improve relationships with people, maybe based on an experience or feelings that we've harbored for some time. It varies, obviously, between people and their experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
but the difference, so that's therapy. Coaching is the really, it is about looking ahead. So coaching is actually great for someone like, I graduated from therapy, which I was sad because I loved my therapist, but at the same time, it was a good thing, right? But coaching is moving forward. It's looking
Right.
ahead. So a client comes to a coach saying, I have this goal. I want to lose 50 pounds in a year, or I'm looking to change my career, and just, you know, shout out, if you're in you're in mid career mode and you're ready to do something different, believe me, you can do it. But things like
Yeah.
that, where, maybe you want to change careers, um, or you've been through, or you're going through, a period of burnout, or you're trying to prevent it. So coaching is about looking ahead, setting goals for the future. And then the coach, instead of, saying, well, have you, can you, let's try this or whatever. The coach is actually giving the client the autonomy to do the work to find the solution to, you know, reaching their goal. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this great video on YouTube that I recommend to everyone who wants to know more about coaching. And I think it's called How Coaching Works. And it's an animated video, and it shows a client and a coach, and it's really cute. It's kind of like stick figures. And the coach has a little cap on, and he's got a little toolbox, right? And the client is drawing these, it's kind of, the client is going up this ladder, and the goal is at the top of the ladder. And so the the coach has this little toolbox, and every time the client is trying to get up the ladder, the client might stumble, and then the coach comes out with this cute net, and he's catching the client. And so coaching is about, you're really kind of just, you're giving the client tools to move forward with the goal, because when the client has that autonomy, the goal will be, reaching that goal will be more attainable and sustainable in the long run. I like to think of what I do as a coach is sort of like dolphin coaching, where I'm not swimming behind the client and pushing them forward, and I'm not swimming in front of them leading the way. I'm more swimming alongside the client, and I'm just sort of, alongside with them, just letting them lead the way, but kind of
Hmm.
giving them that support as they need it. The difference also is that coaching is about positive psychology, in that we look for positive ideas and thoughts that the client shares with us. And then we look for strengths and we build on those strengths by asking questions, which we call motivational interviewing. We ask the client questions about what they might think would work in a situation that they want to, as far as a goal they want to reach, um, rather than finding a solution or telling them how to fix it. That's not what we want to do. We want to, but we also might, share a suggestion with permission, but only to give them maybe an idea or spark an idea. And that's primarily the difference, that the client does the work, and that's the way it should be. A good coach allows the client to have the autonomy to solve their to reach their goal, but we're there to make sure that they're, that they're not doing it, that they're not alone, but that they have the support they need to get there.
Hmm. And someone to bounce ideas off with, and someone to
Yeah,
share their
right.
maybe their inhibitions or something like that. Like, how do I get past
Sure.
this? And so,
Right.
yeah, I can see how that works. Whereas the
We
therapist
yeah.
is definitely more about, yeah, what happened to you
Right. Well, and
Pri-
some
prior to this point.
definitely. And sometimes we have to look back a little bit in a
Yeah,
coaching relationship. Sometimes a client might share a fear or something like, well, this happened to me before, and how do I move past that? And so sometimes, you talk about things that they've experienced that was positive, and it's like, well, what happened when this happened? What did you do then that helped you to get to that point? And then they
right.
kind of reflect on some positive experiences that maybe they can tap into to, reach this new goal. So,
Yeah.
or there might be exercises that you can do to sort of shift uh, things to a positive, and then that way they're able to move forward. I'm not saying that I don't push a little bit, but I mean,
Sure.
obviously we go
Well,
with
hopefully, I mean, you kind of have to push. I mean, because I mean, really, it's getting out of your own comfort zone, right? Like, I mean,
right.
if we're comfortable, we're not necessarily happy, but we're comfortable because you become,
Right.
like a person gets to a certain point. It's like, well, I
Yeah,
want change, but change is uncomfortable. So,
definitely. Definitely.
and you might want the change, but you may not want to feel comfortable. But it's
Hmm.
actually pushing through that, and that's your job is to
Hmm.
help them find the tools to push past that that change, that shift in their life.
I mean, it is work. It always is work. Even when
Yeah,
you're in therapy or, rehab, it's always work. But the coach is there to, you're not alone. The coach is there to, you know, cheer you on, help you
yeah,
find ways to find it within yourself, because once again, it's more sustainable if it comes from you.
yeah.
If you're more invested if the idea came from you. But the coach is there to say, hey, that sounds like a great idea. How can you support yourself, and what can I do to, give you, what are some ideas we can brainstorm together.
Hmm.
And it's like I said, you have a partner, but at the same time, we're not saying, well, this is what you should do. That is definitely not coaching. And so that's the difference. And the other thing about coaching is, I've heard people say, well, anyone can be a coach. But really, coaching, there's a
Mm,
great deal of training that goes into
yeah,
becoming a coach. And you have to be an excellent listener. And some people are natural listeners, which is great. But you have to be a very, very intentional listener. You have to be someone who's been trained in the art of, motivational interviewing and questioning. And really, it takes a lot of practice, but it's so rewarding when you see that people are, you know um, the questions that you ask, the little things that you pick up on when people are talking to you, and the little things that they say about themselves that are really positive or just strengths that they have. And then you are able to help them have a realization about some of the more positive things that are going in their life rather than negative. It really is a very rewarding experience as a
Yeah.
coach, and it's not about me, it's about them. So
Sure.
but it is very rewarding to see people see things in a little bit more positive light.
Well, you
So
clearly you light up when you talk about that. So you must have some
yes.
examples where that's happened in your business so far. So
Yes,
it's
so
cool
far.
to see that you're excited and that you're
Yeah.
seing progress, which is like,
Yes.
oh, I love it when I see this
Yes.
happen. I love it when people reach their
Yes.
goals, and then you've been
Yes.
a vital part of that transition for them. So that's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it is really cool. It is. And but it's they're, they did the work, but it's
Sure,
great to
sure,
witness. It's great to see that, okay, okay, I know I'm asking, I know that the training and the questions that I'm coming up with are connecting with people, and
right.
that makes me feel like a really um, you know, a a valuable coach, and that's what I've always wanted to be.
Right. Amazing.
So,
And you've had your own transition and your own change process because you have gone from, working for someone else in a job environment to being a solopreneur. You're on your own.
mhm.
You're, and are you doing it without a coach?
That's right. Who coaches the coach,
Who
right?
coaches the coach?
Well, I do have a wonderful coach that I have had the great pleasure of working with, and she is someone that was referred to me by my therapist, who is a wonderful coach, and we've worked together a few times, and so she's supported me in getting going, getting started, and so she's been wonderful. And so yes, the coach should have a coach and should never try and do things by themselves. I think that's very important.
Don't do this at home.
Yes, do not do this at home on your own. Never think you're that great that you
Yeah.
just can do this by yourself, because it takes a village. And I have an assistant, a wonderful assistant as well, who I can bounce things off of. And she started out as a friend and somebody I was mentoring, and now is my unofficial social media manager and assistant.
Cool.
And at
Amazing. That's
some
great.
point, I hope that it'll turn into something where I can really actually pay her, and but right now she's really just being an amazing friend and colleague.
Oh, that's very
I
nice.
But I think it's very important to definitely not see yourself as a, you know, I've got this down. You're right. I mean, I'm always practicing. I'm still practicing with my coach colleagues from Headspace, the Training Institute, and that is still, you're just constantly kind of like learning an instrument. And you're just always practicing, and then getting feedback too, from not only people you practice with, but from clients too. You can say,
Right.
is there something that I could be doing better or helping you with
Right.
that, and that's that's humbling. It's hard to take feedback, but it's important. It's an important part of the work.
And how are you settling into this entrepreneurial world now?
Well, it's really, so I started, officially, I became an LLC in February of this year.
Wow.
And, um, it was a lot easier than I thought. I mean, I did have a lot of support with Headspace, and there was other coaches that were starting out. And I, of course, online, it makes it a lot easier. You go into LegalZoom or one of those, and, the state, there were ways to find information. Um, I really love being able to work on my own schedule, work from home. Um, I have had in-person and virtual clients, but I take both. But um, most clients do this virtually, so for the convenience. But
Right.
um, I've I've found that I've had a lot of support. I have I have several people on my email list, and about, I'm hoping to reach 100 at some point. I mean, it's still early days. We're only, what are we talking about, 8 months here. But I am taking clients now, but I've had clients that have graduated or have left, and it's just been a blessing. One of the things that find that is, a little bit of a challenge is it is a field that's kind of saturated, if I may say.
You
There's a
find
lot
that?
of
Yeah.
coaches out there, right? That there are, a lot of coaches and a lot of life coaches. I'm also a certified life coach as well. I did that before I actually left teaching because I was
Mm.
thinking about, what do I want to do after I retire? That came up faster than I thought, right? So, but I really do think that how do you stand out in a field that has a lot of coaches, right? How do you kind of, so for me, the name Highroads, for me, having a story behind the name really,
Yeah,
I
which
feel
is great. Yeah.
has
Yeah.
helped me to stand out. And the fact that I, as a coach, experienced burnout myself, so I'm bringing that to the table as well.
Hmm.
I think that uh, some of the other challenges that come up, like how do you use social media and how do you get the word out? How do you get people, so people might think, well, I don't need a coach, where I come from the school of, I think everyone deserves a coach. I mean,
Mm.
we think about coaching, we think of like sports coaches. Of course,
Sure.
we don't yell at our clients like, hey, you're being
Skating
benched for,
coaches. Right. Yeah.
like, you threw three interceptions, get your, you're on the bench. No, it's not like that. But, we're, a lot of people think, well, do I invest in that? So how do you show people that this is something that they can invest in and it's
Hmm.
worth it? Um, in fact, my own coach said it's not necessarily that people are, um, they see the value once they leave the session. What they take with them is what you've said and what they've come, what they've realized. And then when that's all been processed and let that sink in, that's the value in what you do. And so how do you get people, signed up so that they
Yeah.
can experience that? So
Yeah. It's a
that's
good question.
another, right. So that's another challenge, but once again, so how do you stand out? So some of the things that we're working on, my assistant Anya and I, we're working on a lot of different things. One is we're going to hopefully eventually do a podcast. We have a great, email list, and we use a company called Flowdesk for that, and those are mass emails. So we're actually going to start something called Better Days, which is going to be a weekly little blast out. And what I'm thinking, and this is sort of just in the process, but thinking of having like reader contributions, like situations that come up for them, and maybe it's just like a little like coaching, like a little, you know minute coaching with Coach Annie, just a little bit of like some questions to think about, and leave
Mm.
people with something. So it's kind of like, bringing people in, things like that, where you're just kind of standing out doing different things and not doing what everyone else is doing. So that's yeah, so a lot of exploring. And then I did a signature workshop, which is on my website, about burnout.
Hmm.
I did that in June, and then I'm also working on another couple of workshops, one on flipping the narrative with taking, negative statements and flipping them into positive statements. And then other things that have come up, like setting boundaries. So continuing to offer information to people, and then, down the road, maybe creating some online courses and things. So really just continuing to get the information out there. One of the other things that I've heard, and my coach shared this too, is sometimes social media always the isn't always the place to find your clients. A lot of times it's word of mouth or people
Yeah.
who have experienced your services. So
Yeah.
definitely testimonials and just getting people to talk about you is probably one of the best ways to market in this
Yeah,
business.
word of mouth has always been and still is the best way
Hmm.
to get your information out about you. I do agree with you sharing information, and sharing information is also very valuable, because not
Hmm.
only do they get an opportunity to learn something from you. I'm a true believer in that, connecting with somebody, listening to a podcast or watching a video on your YouTube channel, or, they pick up a little tidbit or a snippet on a short or a reel or something like that, where they see you, they connect with you visually, they hear your voice, they make there is something about, we all connect with people differently. Like,
Yes.
you could say a message one way and five other people can say a same message, and all five people or all six of you will connect with a different person because of how they said it, the tone of their voice, their personality, what they look like, all those things. Like all those things, that's how we as humans read the information, by all our senses. And so there's a frequency that you will hit on somebody that you won't hit on somebody else. And I think that I say, there's a saturation of life coaching or coaches. Maybe not so. I don't think there's a coach for every other person. I don't think there's a
Mhm.
coach for everyone yet. And if everyone
Definitely.
needs a coach, then we're going to run out of coaches.
Right. Well, and that's where, the whole, the idea that is, you know, especially women who might be heading towards burnout, or, it's in their, in their awareness, um, you know, having, like I said, having the PhD in burnout, I would have never thought, oh, I should just get a coach here, right? Like that would not have been foremost in my mind, right? Like
No.
I really should get a coach so I can get my act together here so it doesn't happen. So
Right.
how do you then say, don't wait till it happens, call a coach today, call me, things like that. And once again, it's like you said, it's about that connection and how do you connect to people. And I think
Yeah.
once again, it comes down to just being yourself and being transparent,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like,
opening your heart and your story to people, not being afraid to tell them what your journey was.
mm-hmm.
And that's why High Roads, to me, when I was thinking of naming my business, there's so many different names and then they're all taken and you're like, oh. But then
Yeah.
when High
So
Roads came
tough.
up, I was like, oh,
It wasn't
that's
gone. That's
no, it
great.
wasn't gone. I was like, wow, this is the one. I better snap it up. Especially on the web, right? You're like, especially with .com, you're like, I gotta
Yeah.
get this nailed down. But I'm so glad that came to mind. And once again, that's what I want women to know, people to know, that it meant something to me, and I hope it
Yeah.
can
It's significance. Yeah.
mean something to them. And I have had clients say, I do feel like I'm traveling a different road, a higher road. And like I said, once again, it's, we have that term, take the high road. It's a little bit different than that. It's just more of a very individual type of life, that living just for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and honoring yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. We touched on it briefly, you talked about some doing virtual coaching, and of course that technology is out there.
Mm,
If you want to use it, I mean,
yes.
you will do it if that's the only way to reach people. Is that
Right.
true, or do you only do in person?
Well, no, I mean, I use both, and I'm
Oh, right
hoping
on.
to do,
Okay.
and the thing is that there's a lot of opportunity to connect with people in person too.
Yeah.
We've talked about doing things like, there's a local farmers market that has kind of a health and wellness area,
Oh,
or
yeah.
connecting with, I've had coach colleagues that I've met through my program that, have connected with, um, other therapy offices, and that have groups of therapists, and they will hire a coach, to
Mm-hmm.
come in for people who don't want therapy but want coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to connect with people that it's not, without technology. So those are some other things I'm exploring too, like women's groups.
Mm.
How do you get involved with, one of the
Yeah,
other things,
because you
yeah.
have that niche, you have that ability or
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity to speak to those sort of,
Mm-hmm.
closed groups where you can
Mm-hmm.
really connect with
Right.
people who are you're looking at. And have
Yeah.
you been able to take advantage of AI in any way?
Definitely. I mean, AI has been a tool. We definitely don't want it to be a crutch, right? But we want it to be a tool, and we actually have, I AI has been, for me, for my business personally, has been a great time saver, in
Yeah.
that it helped me to design my first workshop, helped me to lay out the outline, which was really great, because you have all these ideas, and then you're just like, okay, that's not going to be, in the
That's a
time frame that I
9-hour
need.
course. That's not going to work.
Right, nobody wants a 9-hour course,
Annie, no one
especially.
wants a 9-hour course.
No, no, and I know what that's like when you
90 minutes.
got to go 20-minute increments, right? When I was a teacher, it was like, these kids will go 20 minutes and then that's it. We need to take a, break.
Yeah.
So,
We're all the
adult.
same kids. We just wear bigger clothes. We all have the same.
Exactly. Exactly.
None
I
of us
learned that.
have
Yeah.
any more of an attention span as we had in grade 2. So
Yes. When I was an instructional coach, I was like, I am not going to do this to the teachers. I'm going to
no.
definitely, honor the fact that they're just big kids, big learners, and I'm not gonna go on and on. But yes, so AI, there's a few things that AI has done to help me streamline my business. One is to help me create material, which is great, especially for Instagram, and then for
Yeah.
getting information out quickly and formatting and whatnot, and that's been great. And then other things that AI has done for me as well as is helped me to create other, they can help you create courses, they can help you create outlines for ideas that I've had. My next workshop, I've already created an outline, then I can just fill that in with ideas, but it just kind of keeps things concise. And what's really cool about Chat GPT is that they remember the kinds of things you're creating for your business. So you don't have to just go in there and
Yes.
go,
It
hey, remember that
learns.
project we did? It just continues to remember what you've been
Yes.
working on. So that's awesome. It's really great. Um, as far as the coaching side, it's AI has really become a great tool for coaches as far as note taking during coaching sessions. And
Oh, right.
they have automated some of that using AI generated, like using AI for sessions so that the coach can really focus on the client, and then
Mhm.
the notes are generated in
Yeah,
AI. So
that's been a game changer for so many people. Yeah.
huge, huge. So it's just important that we, use AI as a tool, but not as a substitute for the human the
Yeah.
human
Please,
interaction.
please, I hope
Yes,
AI does not
no,
become a
no.
coach.
Right, no, because
No.
you want
No.
someone that
No, we
yeah,
don't want that.
right. I would definitely love to see how that would work, because I mean, as a coach, I would definitely be listening for certain questions and being like, I don't know if that's a coach question. We definitely are discerning when it comes to the kinds of questions that we hear people ask, and if we're like, that doesn't sound, or that might be out of our sphere or out of our
Yeah.
scope of practice.
Yeah.
So I probably would, yes, definitely it'd be better to use a human coach and not an AI coach. But I think it is important for us to use the best of AI, use
Mhm.
the best of AI for this, and hope that that is, you know, what we do, and honor, like I said, the human connection, and not let go of
Yeah.
that at all.
That
You
high
know,
more of a hybrid, you have that
exactly. I think,
technical automated
yeah,
support, but you're driving the
exactly.
change in the ship. Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
I think there's a lot of things we could do hybrid that probably would
Yeah.
work a lot better. We're not going to, do it all, it's either one thing or another. We definitely should just
Yeah.
take the best of each thing, and go with that, and tweak things as we go.
Yeah.
Because there has been talk about people saying, well, is your job going to be around? I mean, AI could take it over. It's like, I don't think we'll ever let it get that far.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're probably safe for now.
Right.
Maybe,
Well,
maybe by the time it's
yeah,
by the time it
but
gets to that point,
I may
we don't have
be,
to worry
I may
about it.
be, really like,
We don't have to
off
worry
on,
about it.
I'll be on
I think we're
vacation
good.
for,
I think we're good for the next 10,
yeah,
20 years.
I may not be on this planet by that time, right? Definitely. So,
um,
we don't have to worry
that
about that.
any advice do you have for any advice or maybe insight or just insights for people who are either looking to venture into your area themselves, maybe someone who's kind of had an experience and come through it and thought, I want to share
Mm,
my experience, and or any other advice for someone who is listening, maybe who says, hmm, I wonder if I'm on my way to burnout, like,
okay. Well, okay. So to answer your first question,
yeah.
anyone who's interested in becoming a coach, I mean, it's a very rewarding career. As I said, I fell in love with coaching back in 2014 when I was transitioning from one school to another, and had trained myself for about 7 years until I finally became a coach. It is a profession where, if you want to help people and you want to help people reach their goals, I would definitely enroll in a good coaching program. There are many good coaching programs out there. You don't necessarily have to be a health and wellness coach, but if you've experienced, mental health, challenges, and you've, you know, gotten through things, difficult things, and you want to help people in that area, I highly recommend the Headspace program. They're really great, but there are a lot of other programs too. But I would highly recommend that you don't just go out and coach on your own. It's really important for your clients to
Yeah.
receive the best coaching possible. And to be a certified coach, obviously, it does, show that you have the credibility, and just it's just important
Well,
to
you got to
be
do
able.
the work, right?
Well, you do,
You
and it,
can't
it
just go
is.
out and
Yeah,
become a
yeah. No,
physiotherapist.
no, you can't just come in, do a surgery on someone without some sort of
No.
license.
Yeah.
And as I said, see which program works for you. Just thought Headspace was great, and just so grateful for all their support, and even the support after. They have a lot of support afterwards. In fact, I'm doing my burnout workshop on Sunday for their summer cohort
Oh,
and
wow.
other people.
Great.
So they really do want to support you outside the program too. So anyway, that is my advice. The other advice is have a niche. Make sure that you have a niche
Right.
for your business, because
Right.
people don't necessarily call you and say, "Hey, I'm in burnout." They may not. They may have other things. I work with clients with every need, but have a niche, because if you're going to, as I said, you want to have a signature sort of, topic. You want to have a niche. You want to be known for something. And if you have that niche, people will know you for that. And then you can expand on that. Like I said, getting information out, workshops, classes, things like that. So that's what keeps your business growing. And so you want to make sure you have that
Right.
established, and make sure
Yeah.
that's really something that you know a lot about. Don't pick something that you're like, well, I don't really know much about that, but I like that. Make sure you're well versed in it if you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
As far as women with burnout, I just want to say that you're not alone. Please do not, don't ever think that there isn't someone out there to talk to. I went through it. It wasn't easy. As I said, I know what it was like to, be down to the studs and build myself back up. I I think that, once again, we talked about this earlier. Don't wait till it happens. I mean,
Hmm.
for it to happen, that you're not alone, that there is, coaching is available. And a coach isn't a therapist. Like I said, you may feel like you don't need a therapist, and that's okay. But a coach is not a therapist. We help you look forward. So if you're just in a place where you're like, I just need to feel like I need to look to the future, a coach is a perfect fit for you, because it doesn't
Hmm.
require, you can look back a little bit, and we do that, but it's in a safe space, a place where you can feel that you can be open. And we really focus on giving you tools that, once again, I applied, that has helped me. And I'm still, always going to be in prevention mode. It's kind of like anything, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to relapse. So, um, but the tools and the things that we do in my coaching program for burnout, you know, uh, are things that I did myself and I still apply. So that is, I just want you to know it can be done, and it can, and with the support of a coach, you know, you can do it. I just think that no one should have to do it by themselves, and everyone deserves a coach. And it is an
I think that's a
investment. It is a good investment in yourself.
And I think it's a valid point to bring up that, you provide tools that are things that a person can start applying like today, that they could
Exactly.
see some immediate advice, a change with, or some immediate,
Exactly.
they might feel better tomorrow. Therapy is important 100%. And I think it's a longer game. It works on
Hmm.
a deeper level. Whereas this is like, it's about, well, here's my problems, here, and you're providing some actionable things that they can start working on tomorrow, and they could
Exactly.
see immediate change.
Well, and we work with that client, at their pace, right? And we
Yeah.
have, like on my website, I have packages, right? So clients can choose from different packages. They can choose a 3-month package, a 6-month package. They can choose a one intensive. They can
Yeah.
do weekly, whatever fits for them. What we work at their pace. If it gets to the point where a client is needing therapy and it's not in my, because I'm not a therapist,
Right.
and it's not in my scope of practice, then I will say this is probably something a therapist would be more, it would be more appropriate for you to speak to a therapist about this.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would
Mm-hmm.
tell them that, and then they can go and do that, and then they could come back to me when they are feeling
Sure.
more ready to move forward. So it's really not, once again, it's very much an individual thing. It's, it's very tailored to the person, and it's once again, it's really all about them. It's the important thing is that um, you want to feel, you just know you have it's a safe place to talk about this, to open up, and to get some really, like you said, some really valuable tools, actionable tools that you can
Mm-hmm.
use right away. And I have some of
Yeah.
those things on my website already,
Oh, great.
and that women can use as a resource. But you are worth it. You are worth it, and when you start to see your self worth, that through self love, that's what helped me get to where I am today. If you said to me like a year ago that I would be doing a podcast about, Highroads Coaching and my recovery from burnout, I mean, I would have been like, no way, there's
No
no
way.
way. So, I just can't tell you how grateful I feel to be able to talk about this, to help women, and I'm so grateful. And I know that it's been a long road, but it's been a road that has been well worth it. And I just want women to know they're not alone. Help is here. And coaching can be the key to making sure it doesn't happen to other women.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Annie, for sharing your story with me today and our listeners, and talking about Highroads Coaching. And your website is highroadscoaching.com, correct? And
Correct.
people can find you on LinkedIn, Annie Stephanos. So they can seek you out there if they want to get more information from you as well. So, is there anything we missed in our chat today that you wanted to make sure we squeeze in here before we say goodbye?
Well, I just want to say thank you again for having me. If you're interested in receiving our little weekly newsletter, Better Days, you can email me directly at Annie@highroadscoaching.com, and we'll get you on the email list. There's going to be some great things coming up there. I'm really excited about that. And then you can find out about future workshops and other things that are going on. And just really would love to hear from you if you're interested in joining our email list. We would love to have you. So thank you so much again for having me today. Like I said, this is a very important topic, and I really hope that this reaches a lot of women and that they can connect with this and seek help if they need it. And we're taking clients, and we'd love to talk to you. And I do offer a free 30-minute complimentary initial
Oh, there you
session.
go. That's
So
nice. You
please
get an
contact
opportunity to
me. Yeah,
meet and connect and have a
that's
chat,
right.
and
And
that's a
there's
great
no
way to do it for
yeah,
sure. No
and there's no
obligation.
obligation. Definitely
Very
would
good.
love to talk to you. So thank you again. This has
You're
been
very
great.
welcome. And Annie, best of success with your business moving forward. And maybe we'll catch up again sometime and see where you're at and hear your progress. So thank you
Oh,
for your time today as well.
best to you. And I'd love to come back. So hopefully we can do that again soon.
Okay, big thanks to Annie Stephanos for joining me on this episode, From Burnout to Breakthrough, and for reminding us that recovery isn't about pushing harder like we've all tried. It's about slowing down, setting some boundaries, and creating that space for self-care. Annie's perspective on coaching as a preventative tool really stood out for me, especially the part about you don't have to wait until you're completely burnt out to ask for help. So that's a really good it's really good advice. And I think a lot of people will relate to her comments on balancing ambition, rest and self-worth, especially women who are navigating that nonstop push to do it all. So if you want to learn more and get more from Annie, you can connect with her at her website, highroadscoaching.com. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe or like the episode if you like it, and share it with people you know, especially those who you think might be experiencing burnout and could use a helping hand. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.